Across the ASEAN countries, links have been forged between nations as well as between individuals. From an unlikely friendship to a mother and son bond, from a connection built on blood, sweat and tears to that built over decades, and a modern family with roots firmly embedded in their heritage. These are the relationships across ASEAN.
Oh, what restaurant is this? Myanmar restaurant. You want to try? You want to try, Naila? Okay, good. I was born in Brunei. I think Bruneians, similar with Singapore and Malaysia, we have, the Malays, the Chinese, the Indians, the Eurasians, the local races as well. We respect different cultures, values, religions, and you just got along.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
We have this order.
This restaurant is halal, is it?
Yes, this is a halal restaurant.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, most of the Myanmar people like mohinga.
Okay.
And then ono khao sui, one of the Myanmar national dish.
Okay, let me try that. Yes.
I'm what you call a global citizen. I'm proud of my Asian background, but also embracing the Western influence. You can put me anywhere. So if I'm happy, if I love someone, and then, I'm okay.
My children, they are half Bruneian and half Indonesian, and they've lived most of their lives in Singapore. They travel quite a lot to Brunei and Jakarta, and also to other places when we go on holiday. They don't get fazed by travel. They don't get fazed by meeting other cultures, other people. It's just become part of life. This is good. Very nice. Huh? That's nice too.
I met Zefri in London in 2004.
I was just posted to London and I met Handara there. She was a student. So where's Papa?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Mommy and Papa, we are laughing at something.
This is
10 years younger. That's Mommy.
Oh, you look so different.
Yeah, I was smaller.
Don't.
I actually knew Zefri's friends, and then a mutual friend of ours introduced us. Love at first sight. That was what happened, because I was interested and I wanted to get to know him a little bit more.
Of course, I felt that she was very beautiful. She still is very beautiful to me. She was very down to earth and humble and also very friendly. So I was attracted to that. In the early days of our relationship, we had challenges like all relationships do. Ours was particularly to distance. After we had been seeing each other for over a year, I went back to Brunei and Handara stayed on to finish her final year. And then even after that, she went back to Jakarta to work for a year. So we were literally having a long-distance relationship for about 2 years.
I know this is cliche, but communication is key. You cannot hold it in you, you have to let the other person know what you feel.
There's a lot of give and take, there's a lot of sparring, and a lot of it is due to differences in culture, and definitely for our case, a difference in upbringing. Handara is very kind. She's also the type of person that sees the good in everyone. And these are sometimes the things that we have little arguments about, because sometimes I'm pragmatic and I tell her, not everybody's going to be nice to you.
Zefri taught me to be street smart, to be observant of things. You have to be alert to see all the things that are coming from angles that you don't expect them to come from. These are equal, yeah.
This is 134, that's 100.
There's also 134, yeah.
So work out.
Immediately after we got married, we had our first daughter. I quickly became a mother, and then 3 children within 10 years.
This is now our 7th year living in Singapore.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to expose our children to different cultures, different languages.
Got him!
Teaching and educating our children to look at different issues in life from different perspectives.
Younger means
Michelle, you like Michelle? Younger
I'm actually half Malay and half Chinese. So I learned from a very young age to fit in, to adapt to different cultures and different languages and different norms. I also identify with the Western culture a bit because I went to boarding school at a very young age to Australia.
I'm half Javanese and half Menadanese. I grew up in Jakarta up until 15 years old, and then I went to the UK. I was in the boarding school for the first 2 years, and then I moved to London until I was about 24. Growing up overseas have shaped me that I should respect people from all backgrounds. Every day was a learning experience. I had friends from all over the world. They had stories to tell, they had customs. I was learning their languages. It was fun.
妈妈，我们一起看电视好吗？妈妈说，为什么不洗个澡？
Something that's very tangible is that we are now trying to make sure that our children speak 3 languages. So they speak English, they speak Malay, Indonesian, Bahasa at home, and they learn Mandarin Chinese at school. So I think that would help them be better global citizens in the future.
Potong kuenya, potong kuenya, potong kuenya semua sudah.
Ultimately, we try to take the best of all cultures that we come exposed to. We try to teach our children that no matter where they are, there's always something that is good in everyone that we meet. And that's what I try to instill in them, and it's very, very important to us, in fact.
Even though that I've lived in so many places since I was 15, I'm very, very close with my mom. We're always on the phone. I'm always telling her things. So we always have to be in contact with our parents wherever we are. I think that's, for me, is very important.
I definitely feel very connected to our families in Jakarta and Brunei when they visit us, because they bring sometimes little goodies from Jakarta, Brunei, and also they bring stories of home.
Yeah.
Whoever's in the house.
My family and your family visit Singapore very often.
Yes. Whenever we looked for a place in Singapore, we always made sure that there was a spare room.
There's a spare room
for
for
family
them.
to come and stay with us.
Bye, Mom. I'm going to miss you. Bye.
My turn.
Miss me.
And then after is big.
My in-laws and my parents have come to Singapore very recently. Usually what we do is the next trip we would make a trip to either Brunei or Jakarta. So in fact, we will be traveling to Jakarta and spending the weekend there. I believe traveling is a good form of exposure to different cultures. Handara and I try to expose our children to as much culture as we can. They already get a lot of exposure to Indonesian culture, Bruneian culture. Living in Singapore, they get exposed to Singaporean culture as well. My wife and I don't try to force upon our children different cultures of what they are, who they are, but we make sure that they are clear where their roots are from. I would say traveling so much to Brunei and Jakarta has become a learning experience, but it's more than that. It's just become part of life.
Hello, kids. Hello, Naila. How are you? Yes, okay. Yes. How is my youngest?
We always tell them they're half and half. My kids are half Bruneian and half Indonesian, even though they live in Singapore. They would probably remember more being in Singapore, but I just don't want them to forget their roots. We go back very often to both Indonesia and Brunei. From there, the grandparents take over. My mom would bring them around, would show them things, would tell them things, how I used to be when I was small and everything. Our roots, that even in Indonesia we have different cultures, where my mom is from, where my father is from, and stuff like that. We have a big family. My mom has 9 siblings, so that's 10 altogether. And my grandmother, she's a role model for everyone. She baked, she cooked, she taught to sew. She was quite businesslike. I found this passion, this baking thing, when I was in Brunei, and then I started being in the kitchen. And I love desserts, so I started baking. And obviously when you bake big. Even though you're a housewife, a housemaker, doesn't mean you can't have your own business, to have your own money, which is very liberating.
Hello. Hi. Honey. Hello, my darling.
My grandma, she is 90 now. She has this event organizer for the Sundanese tradition wedding. She's been doing it for decades, I think. She did most of our weddings, you know, mine and my cousins. The wedding in Jakarta was very overwhelming. It stretched about 4 days from ceremony to ceremony until the last reception.
I was used to far simpler weddings that I attended in the past. And for my wedding in Indonesia, there was a lot of cultural events. There was like siraman, there was pengajian, and there was a lot of different events. And I saw the beauty in each one of those events, and I liked it.
See?
This is what she does.
This is.
Ini apa nih?
Ini adalah if somebody you wanna jahat. You can put
But
like
bad people.
If bad people come, you can use that for protection.
at home.
Yeah. What would you do if someone bad come?
Call for help.
Oh yeah, call for help. Okay.
Sebelum siraman, kita harus ada dulu pengajian. Ini untuk membuat air pengajian doa.
Oh iya.
Untuk nanti mandi.
Okay.
Untuk mandi pengantin.
Okay.
Iya.
Siraman is when the bride to be gets cleansed, you know, so
With water.
With water. So this is where they put the water that's been blessed. So it's like this. This is what it can be used also to ask for forgiveness of my father and mother. We're going to wash my mother's left foot like that.
Nyembah lagi kan.
Then I do this again.
Sini gitu.
And I'm going to ask for forgiveness here. And my mom would give me some prayers. The fondest memories of my wedding, there was a lot of it. To start off is the first ceremony, which is the pengajian. This is where I read verses from the Quran, but also a chance for my mom to read her letter to me in front of everyone. The things that she said in her letter was the things that I had never heard before. It was very touching. She was crying just from the first paragraph, first one. Obviously that I was just bawling, right? And everybody was bawling, and that was very sweet.
There were many occasions in this wedding ceremony that was very uncommon to me, and I had never experienced it. And I just remember this one scene where the flower or the seed of the palm tree, and it's kind of hard and it's got a shape that resembles the female part. Nini, Handara's grandmother, and she said, you know, take this knife, and I just grabbed the knife. She goes, no, slowly with the knife, be gentle with the knife. So I had to cut that seed and then gently open it up.
It's fun.
It was done in a very fun event. From young to old, they were all laughing. It was a traditional and cultural, very cultural way of explaining modern sex education.
This one?
It's white.
Yes. You know how brides wear white wedding gowns? Yeah, see that?
See, Michelle?
A lot of people ask me, when do you know it's time to get married? And in the case for myself and with Handara, I knew that it was time. What has changed since then? I think children have come along, and a lot of what we do nowadays revolves around our family. I've learned a lot of things from Handara. I can see the kind of closeness Handara has with her family. It's something that I would also like to emulate with our own little family.
Which one flies in the sky?
Helicopter.
Eh? What is that? Were you trying to sing it? Helicopter. Happiness is the most important thing, you know, above anything else, yeah.
Lala, would you consider to, moving back to Jakarta, staying here with Del, of course?
Yeah, with Zefri. I'm just following Zefri at the moment. You know, I'm happy to be where he is.
We don't really plan that far ahead, right?
Yeah.
So we just go with the flow.
Yeah.
As long as we're all together,
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Well, Del is having a good job in Singapore.
Oh, yeah.
If he wants to move to Jakarta, then he has to have a better job in Jakarta. With a good pay in Jakarta.
I would say the biggest influences in my life are my parents. They instill me a lot of the values in life. Even though my father doesn't say much, but people know how good a person he is. He's very kind. I was always look up to him, and my mother as well.
Hello.
I love you, Sha. Okay, yeah. I would like my kids to have similar love that I received when I was a child. I think that is very important because my parents kept reminding me we should always show them love and care to let them know they're secure.
Cambodia.
Oh, yeah, Cambodia.
Tien Phu Chan.
What is it? Tien Phu Chan.
No, with
Oh,
a
see,
D.
it sounds the same to me. Again.
Tien Phu Chan.
Tien Phu Chan.
I'm just starting. I'm just starting.
What do I have to say?
Tien Phu
Oh,
Chan, not Phu
okay.
Chan.
Tien Phu.
Not Tien.
What is it?
Tien Phu Chan.
Tien Phu Chan.
Uh.
What's wrong with that? Raising 3 kids in this modern society is challenging. I'm still learning how to bring them up, to be honest. I would say the parents are also learning in this thing. We don't always know the answer to everything. Okay, what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna pour some into the cupcake liner. The key is to never fully fill it to the top. Okay, who wants to be next? Okay, wait. I know. We'll just go from the eldest one. Okay, go, Misha. I want to go back to how my parents raised me, but I think I would raise my kids differently to how my parents raised me. Now with technology and outside influences, it's just different. It's not like what we was before, yeah.
Which one is the highest one?
Okay.
Whoa.
Let's see how he does it. Good coordination, Omar. Yeah. Okay, this is quite hot. So
stand back.
yeah, it's very, very hot. So you have to be careful. Only with an adult, yeah? Life out there, the real world, is really tough. And we hope that we will be able to be with them every step of the way.
Handara is a very, very good wife and mother.
Okay, who's next? Okay. Yeah, you can eat it. Okay, Naila, you want to do the flower, right? Like this.
It's not an easy job to build a happy home.
Just go around the place that you haven't touched.
It's not an easy job to raise 3 well-balanced children and run a business. So for all of those reasons, that's why I love Handara.
Zefri is a very good husband and father. I feel that every day. He's very responsible. He's not the lovey-dovey type, but he actually loves us where it matters. I know he loves me, not from words, from action, and that's very important for me. He's very responsible, and he really takes care of me.
Marco!
He's coming! He's coming!
Marco!
One of the things that I love about him is him being with the children. He's very close with them. He's quite hands-on in terms of, playing with them and sports and doing activities. And I think that's very important.
I like the fact that we have 3 different homes, Singapore, Brunei and Jakarta. I would say our family is very open-minded. We are quite liberal when it comes to a lot of things, but it doesn't change who we are deep down. We've basically come together as a hybrid family of 2 cultures.
I was only 22 when I met him, probably a bit immature and childish. I don't know whether I still am, but it's changed quite a bit. I think me as a person, and obviously since I'm dealing with another person, then yeah.
I think for me, generally, things have been pretty much the same, but definitely in terms of maturity, we've grown to understand each other's differences better. And, there's a saying, you should always love someone for their worst trait.
That's true. Because loving someone at their best is easy. He's smart, he's good looking, he's kind. It's easy to love that person, but to actually love them for their worst habits or whatever, I think, yeah. I hope that he knows that how much I love him. It's difficult nowadays to say I love you all the time. We have problems every day, but I hope you know that.
I love her very much, and I think that without her, I would be lost. I think she's very tolerant of me, despite my shortcomings. I'm thankful that we have grown, matured as a couple. We've continued to move forward as husband and wife. My hopes are that we just continue moving forward always.